Do not trust him. He has not changed. And even if he is, he's already hit you once. You would take him back. He's going to think that you are a punching bag and you can do it again. We do not trust people that become violent. And that's not even the worst of it. The man followed you.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to hit that point.
He followed you to a club and watched you like spying.
Yeah, and that's the bit.
That's to me is a red, not even red. What's worse than red? I don't know. There's no red.
That's the end of the road sign for me. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are. Welcome back to the Couple School Podcast. I'm joined, as always, by the lady of self-love herself, Charmaine Lawrence.
Hello, guys.
I'm gonna read this out and I'm gonna go quiet. I'm gonna go quiet deliberately. I'm gonna see how long it takes for words to form
in my head
and then come out.
Okay.
Form and out. We'll see. So. My boyfriend and I split up about 3 years ago because of his jealous rages that ended one night with him beating up a guy that bought me a drink on a girls' night out. Brackets, I didn't know he was there. He followed me when I left the house, and then him hitting me when we got home. Since then, he has tried and been persistent in trying to get me back, and been really sweet to the point where I think he has changed. Should I trust him or should I just stay away?
I don't think this is going to need a whole 30 minutes. That is a no. Do not trust him. He has not changed. And even if he is, he's already hit you once. You would take him back. He's going to think that you are a punching bag and you can do it again. We do not trust people that become violent. And that's not even the worst of it. The man followed you.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to hit that point.
He followed you to a club and watched you like spying.
Yeah, and that's the bit.
That's to me is a red, not even red. What's worse than red? I don't know. There's no red.
That's the end of the road sign for me.
Right.
That's it. That's where the road stopped being constructed and it turns into dirt and desert land where people get murdered.
And that's a rage. That's
stuff. Flying
into a rage. That to me is loss of control.
Well, actually, I don't even think that. I think that's worse than a loss of control. This is to me that enters premeditated territory, because he had several options along the way in which to avoid the end result and change his course of actions. So when you left the house, trust me, he'd been thinking about it for a while that he was going to follow you out. He didn't just decide he was going to do it on the day. To me, he thought that's what he's going to do from beforehand. So he had a plan to follow you to see where you were going, and then stayed in said place and watched you whilst you and your girlfriends were out there dancing or whatever you were doing, and then probably stood there and watched as guys were paying you attention and this, that, and the other, and then used that opportunity of the guy buying you a drink to release the rage that he had been storing all the way up until that point. Now that action there, that as I said, it's premeditated to plan to follow someone and then to execute the following of said person to a point that or I suspect that most likely is not going to be in your favor. Is you choosing to be a rage-filled individual and therefore then take it out on said individual. That's before we even get to the subject of him hitting you afterwards as well. So that displays that not only is his violence coming out in the direction of others in whatever circumstance he wants to try and put it on and to explain what happened between him and the guy, this jealous rage that apparently took over, not so much because he followed you there, for that to still continue to be raging around inside him enough for him to therefore then hit you afterwards. And I can then imagine that being after whatever's kicked off in the club, then that have disintegrated, him being kicked out, you ruining your time with your girlfriends, then you probably coming out to him, you arguments along the way, taking you all the way home. Like, there's too much of a timeline in there for me for anything of this to be a jealous rage. A jealous rage is you and your partner out somebody tries it on you and he loses it in that moment or she loses it in that moment, that's a jealous rage.
But for me, she hasn't indicated that this has happened before. She's making it sound as though this is the first and only time
but even
that
if it
he's
is
been violent that way. I'm not saying that there's like it doesn't mean anything. I mean, as in like, I'm thinking about it on like, yes, he follows her, which is a problem, a major problem, but he followed her for whatever reason. So I don't think a man's just going to follow you for no reason. Remember, she has not said anything about that this is normal behaviour for him. So one day, out of the blue, he's decided to follow you to a club for whatever reason that may be. Let's say that there's something she's done that's made him feel like he doesn't trust her. So he's like, I think she's sneaking out to go and see somebody. Turns out she goes to a club. He goes to the club. It could easily be that actually she wasn't doing much, and then all of a sudden she's entertaining a man that's basically bought her a drink. And that could have been the click. It might not have been violent otherwise. Do you get what I mean? It might have just been, I'm trying to catch you out. I don't necessarily think that means that he meditated to go out there in a jealous rage, or else he would have been doing that in the rest of their relationship, but she hasn't disclosed.
I mean, there are a couple of things. There are things that we have to assume in this respect.
Yeah.
Now, when I take a look and I hear stories such as this, for me, violence in a relationship doesn't just happen. It's the end result of an accumulation of softer points.
Yeah.
So it's someone being slightly narcissistic that then turns them into being almost like poking fun at the person, then being a bit negative towards them, then trying to be controlling, then being a bit obsessive, then getting to this point where this happens, and then it exits into that. All of these little things are what I would consider to be your red flags all along the way. Yeah. Now, when you've ignored them, you've given permission for it to level up.
Yeah.
So you've ignored it, it's leveled up. Now, whether your thought process was, I'm ignoring it because I'm hoping it's going to get better. I'm not focusing on the hoping it's going to get better bit, and I'm not saying you're guilty for that bit, but you have to take your responsibility in the fact that you ignored the red flag here and it elevated. But this all got to a point because of what went on before. So he may not have been explicitly violent before, but everything in his pattern of behaviour would have been a build-up to that point.
Yeah.
I completely take what you're saying in the sense of I don't think he probably left the house thinking, I'm going to beat up whatever dude that comes in here. But
there was a pattern of behaviour,
He knew where he was at that point. Like, when you get to a stage where you are that enraged that you are, the red light is, you're ready to spark someone out. You know it before you got there. Like, it's like that film, that program by Disney, Inside Out, when they show the inside of people's head and different emotions you've got. Like, the red dude with the fire on his head stepped forward and pushed everyone out and went, no, this is mine now. And he got his side of the thing and was waiting. And that was him sat in the club. Because let's say, for argument's sake, we followed what you're saying and you go, well, she did something that led him to be concerned. So he's like, cool, I think she's stepping out on me. She's doing something with some next dude. So he then follows her out. When she gets to the club and she's clearly with a group of female friends, that ends that line of questioning to me.
Yeah.
Because she's like, okay, right, well, she said she was going out with a group of friends, and these are the friends that she said that she was going out with. Right. Something else triggered in you that made you sit there in the corner somewhere with a drink, sipping behind the ivory tree, watching. Yeah,
but again, this is the thing. Well, I'm just trying to take what she said. I know there's details we don't have, but I don't want to go based on just our assumption of what happens. She hasn't given enough detail, so I'm only going based on the detail. I'm not going through any other what could have been, what should have been, what had been. I'm going based on the fact that he's followed you there. Yep. For whatever reason, he's followed you there. He's followed you there, and he could have got in there, and as soon as he got in there, she was chatting to man. By the way, I'm not saying that's okay. I'm just saying that it could have been.
It could have been the provoking point.
Point of, wait a second, I've just come to see if this girl's doing the right thing.
And immediately
I see what blah, 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 and boom. Now, that doesn't change my response. My response is still, do not, at any opportunity, be with somebody that can fly off the handle like that, or that you have been ignoring red flags. Either way, you shouldn't be doing it. I think it's dangerous to put yourself in situations like that. If someone cannot control themselves because you're talking to a man or a man's buying you a drink, cannot control themselves to the point where they're going to fight and then get home, have an argument with you and then slap you, to me, regardless of all the circumstantial stuff, the violence has happened and the violence shouldn't be forgiven. End of story. Like, we're not talking about he pushed you out of the way while he stormed out the bedroom. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about, he threw the cushion at you. That's not what we're talking about.
No, it wasn't a cushion.
He's literally slapped you in your face or punched you or whatever. So for me, it's a no-go. But I do want to sometimes, when you guys write in, really just kind of hone in on what you're saying. And if there's more to it, I don't want to kind of make an assumption of what that might be. But the fact of the matter is, that to me is weird behavior. It's aggressive behavior. It's violent behavior for someone. Do you get, if someone's sitting down in the corner, like,
we've seen it in movies.
like
We've seen it on
working
movies.
their way up, or just walking in and then straight up losing their temper. It doesn't actually matter which one it is. I just don't want to make an assumption of which one it is. Either way, it is a no-go. Like, I don't know if you can come back from. I don't know if I could trust someone. It becomes a fear factor in me that as the moment I say something that you don't like or behave in a way that you don't like, I may be in for a beating, a slap across my face, like, because you don't like what I've done. Yeah. And therefore it builds up this fear in me that I can't even have a conversation with you because you might respond in that way. And I do think you're right in not necessarily this situation, but situations where we avoid red flags and then we go, I don't know what happened. Like, we actually do. Every single person, sometimes things happen and in hindsight, we're like, actually,
connect the dots.
But actually at the time you saw it, you just ignored it because you felt like on its own it's not a big deal. Second thing happens, you're like, yeah, but it's okay, it's fine. And these things happen. Like, it's just kind of we do have to. It's difficult, because I'm thinking, like, it's not something as big as this, but the small red flags may be things that people have got going on from past traumas or things that people have never experienced before. So they act in a way, but then after time. But when it's detrimental, when these things are detrimental to who you are and what you've got going in your growth as a couple and as an individual, it's a no-go. You just have to know from that it's a no-go. We can't keep putting ourselves in a situation. I don't understand how. No, that situation sounds weird to me. Like, as in, when you left the house, he was just like, "See you later, babe."
That's that. I'm trying to fall in line with what you've just said in terms of not elaborating. But the movie that's going on in my head right
because
about
you're
now.
a movie head person.
Yeah, but I can see it, so I can imagine. I can imagine something's happened. Let's say, for argument's sake, he came to meet you from work, and Patrick, that's from work, you were laughing and joking when he walked in, and I mean, he might have heard you speaking to him, and he thought it was past the time that he thought was right for a guy to be talking to his woman, or for it to be work kind of type related, whatever, and it's caused him to be suspicious. Now, in my head, this dude's suspicious of something 2 months ago, and it's festering in his head because he can't articulate it to her, so it's going over, and it's causing him to wind himself on, getting worse, and then get to a point where, like, you're going out with your girlfriend, so yeah, okay, babe, see you later. And then the minute you've gone out the door, you've seen it in movies, the minute you've gone out the door, he's watching, twitching through the curtains. I mean, and he's waiting to see you get into the cab. The minute you get into the cab now, he's already, like, in his car, and he's following the cab down the road.
Yeah.
I mean, then sitting in his car, watching you meet your girls outside the club, laughing and joking and this, that and the other. And I mean, like, light banter with the bouncer as he's going in through the door. Then he gets out of his car, then goes in and joins the queue himself. Then he goes in and he gets himself a drink over by the bar, and he sits there in the corner and watches you. And he's watching the interactions that are going on, and he's watching you and your friends, this, that and the other. He's watching you go to the bar, then watches you go back, sees the guy over in the corner that's clocked you, this, that and the other, and he's waiting for this interaction to happen, and waiting for this opportunity to just offload all of these weeks worth of stuff that I wish that I'd said, and offload it in that situation and just lose control. But it's not losing control, it's letting go of control.
Yeah.
You know? So
I don't know. I don't. Do you think that some people can get past a situation like this?
From any trauma, there is a way past it, but you have to accept the path, and it's not easy. You know, it's not easy. Whether it be someone that's cheated, whether it be someone that's hit someone, whether it be someone that's lied to someone, whatever the situation is different people's perspectives will dictate how serious that situation is to them. You know, to some people, somebody lying to you is the same as someone cheating on you. You know, whereas some people, someone cheating on you is nowhere near as bad as someone kissing someone. Like, it all depends on what your perspective is. But there is a way forward, but the two of you have to accept a couple of things. The person that's done the wrong, you have to accept that you've done the wrong, and you also have to accept that the person's not going to trust that you're not going to do the wrong again for a period of time. You know, and you have to be consistent in your approach to working past that yourself, as in doing the work that you need to do in yourself to make sure that that doesn't happen again, and also helping your person past that point to the point where they start to trust again. And you'll both have to accept that the trust may never be the same again. The person that's doing the forgiving, so to speak, has to understand that when you forgive, you don't forgive and reserve the right to throw back in someone's face whenever you feel like it. It's okay for you to feel uncertain. It's okay for you to feel insecure. It's okay for you to feel not okay. But you have to feel that with the overall wanting for it to be okay and to get past it, not to wallow in it. And it's hard. The deeper the situation, the longer the road is, and the more fractious it is as you're going along, and the more dangerous it is as you're going along, because there's so many different things that could pop in that can make it worse, can make it revert. You know, for me in this situation here, there's nothing that can be done with the two of you together, because Stalker Man has got whatever it is that's triggered him to be like that, has got to go back and unpick that. And that's the bit, if the lady was sat in front of me right about now, that's the most fractious part of this whole thing for me, is that I don't think that for someone to choose to that as being the course of behaviour that they're going to do, that's a deep hurt or deep break within them that's not been healed. Yeah. You know, for you to jump from, you know, go from having conversations to conflict to maybe an argument to go straight to, I'm convinced that you are doing something, so I'm going to catch you out by doing blah blah blah. That's something deep within that person's psyche, and a lot of the times these people don't understand that trauma is there. Yeah. So I don't believe him when he's, you know, for however many months, stroke years, however it is that he's still pursued you, that he's actually fixed that. And I couldn't advise you to even entertain it because of how serious it ended. When you say nothing, you say a lot. So by you accepting him back, understand you're accepting him in his current state back as being okay and acceptable. If that hasn't been fixed, you're accepting that again into your world as well. But don't forget, when we ignore or accept a red flag, it evolves and it gets worse. So when that behavior comes back, it's the big bad wolf knocking on the door again. So
yeah, like I said, I don't think it takes half an hour. It's a no. We're not dating. I just think it's too dangerous of a situation for me, for you to be in a situation where somebody will go as far as not just hitting someone, but on the same night then hitting you. Like, it's not like, okay, he lost his temper, this guy was doing this guy was touching you, whatever the case may be, or buying you a drink, you were laughing, giggling, maybe he touched your fight, I don't know. I don't know what the situation is, but it's not, for me, it is not something that I would advise anyone to put themselves in. And yes, he might have done the work, but let him do the work for the next relationship. Let him grow as an individual, and his next relationship, he'll be better. But he's not going to be better for you because you are now going to accept that. That's how I see it. For me, if no matter what work he's done, then coming back for me to go, okay, so he's done this work, he's with me, but I already accepted it. That means I've accepted, as soon as he comes back, I've accepted that this is what you've done in that moment. You've done all this work that you said you're going to do, but you're still with me, who may trigger you again. I'm not taking that risk, and I wouldn't advise anyone to take that risk.
You see that what we're touching on here is the bit when I say about what you've got to accept if you do decide to take someone back. Is you have to accept that you're going to feel like that, but in the mindset of getting past it and pushing yourself to not feel like that. And you've got to have the very honest conversation with yourself right now and go, am I capable? Am I capable of actually getting past that? And saying no in that respect is absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. I couldn't. If I was in this situation here and, I couldn't, because in the back of my head I'd be like, okay, right, cool. This could always potentially happen again. Like, what was it? My mind would be doing overtime. What was it that I said? What was it that I did? What? There's all these questions that pop up, because all of those questions need to be listened to, and all those questions need to be answered for you to even begin to get an understanding of the lay of the land. So yeah, for me, it's no. But as I said, I will go back to the other point. I mean, this is an extreme case and scenario, but there are others that are as equally detrimental to your relationship, but not to yourself. And there is a way past any trauma. There is any trauma in a relationship, but the two have to accept the path that's in front of them, and they have to accept their part in it. So you've got to, if you're the person that's, as I said, if you're the person that's done the wrong, then you've got to, number one, accept that you've done the wrong, admit that you've done the wrong, and be genuinely sorry that you've done the wrong. And by genuinely sorry that you've done wrong, you also accept the work that you've got to do in order to make sure that doesn't happen again. If you're the person that's on the receiving end, you've got to understand that when you accept someone back, you accept them in their present state, whatever that state is. So if that state is, I've seen what I've done, I've accepted that that's what I've done, and I'm sorry for what I've done, and I'm looking to do the work to fix what I've done, that's what you're accepting. You're accepting that they're not fixed, but they're on their way to be, and they want to be, which means that they're allowed to make mistakes along the way. You can't just automatically throw the towel in, because if your acceptance of that was your acceptance of your road moving forward alongside them. And this is what makes this situation here so fragile, so difficult, and so dangerous, is because you've got to accept the fact that he's not quite fixed but wants to be, which means that this is likely. It's like when people quit smoking. There's always a bit of a relapse. There's always, where you have all the best intentions in the world, you get past the first month or so, and then somebody dies, or you lose your job, or some massive stress comes in that your normal trigger point would be, I'm going for a cigarette, and it happens. Picture that in this respect. You do the work, you're working together, something happens where he suspects you're cheating, or something happens where some other dude, ex-boyfriend, turns up. His natural trigger is back there, and you're reliving that, and it might even just be a blip, and he had no intention of it being permanent, but you have to accept the risk that is what it could be when you accept him back. It's a hard road. It's a hard road back from something like that.
No, it's seriously not. It's not advisable. I wouldn't advise it, and I think we'll put a trigger warning on this one, and put some helplines down the bottom if you guys are experiencing any of this, because it's a very difficult topic for some people that are experiencing it, and I think that there is always someone that you can talk to, but if you're in this situation like this person, but you have had the opportunity to walk away, don't walk back into it. Don't take the risk.
And just to add on that, if you are currently in this situation and you're listening to this and any of this sounds familiar, understand, as Charmaine said, there's always someone that you can talk to, and there's always something that you can do about it. Again, change is about accepting where you are and accepting what you've got to do in order to get to where you want to get to. And if you're in a present situation that is causing you harm and you want to get out of it, you can do. But you've just got to accept the pathway ahead. but that starts with reaching out and asking for help and letting someone else know that this is what's going on. There are dozens of helplines out there, and as Charmaine said, we'll put some in the comments and what have you, that you can call and that can give you advice. There are shelters out there that you can leave and go to. There are different schemes out there that will, give you that space that can conceal you from the outside world, and where certain people or aggressors can find you. You don't have to accept that this is your norm, and you definitely should never accept that this is your fault. But that doesn't excuse you from the responsibility of doing something about it. So just bear that in mind. There's always a way. There's always a way. Anyway, that brings us tightly to the end of the episode. So, if you haven't already, please don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button down the bottom. It definitely keeps us current, and also don't forget to ring the bell over in the top corner up there, somewhere above Charmaine's head. That lets the infamous algorithm know that we're here, we're alive, and we've got stuff to say. We'll be on live on Instagram for Couple School After School on Tuesday at 8:30. Come and join us for this one. Bring us your stories. This is as Charmaine said, trigger warning on this one. So if you've got any experiences that you feel that you want to share, please come along and bring them in. Or if you want to just send them in ahead of time and we discuss them on Couple School After School, in your place or space, so to speak, then we'll also open that facility out there as well. In the meantime, you guys stay strong, you stay focused.
See you later, guys.
Peace.